You're on a glacier with two climbers. The first slips and falls into a ravine. You don't call for help and he dies. The second climber you push into the ravine and he dies too. Which feels worse? A. Letting the first climber die. B. Pushing the second climber. Or C. Both feel equally bad. At first glance, this icy scenario seems like a twisted moral dilemma. But it actually reveals a mental trap, one that even experienced investors fall into. You see, whether you notice it or not, your brain is constantly playing tricks on you. And in investing, those tricks can be very expensive. That's exactly why I created this series, inspired by Rolf Dobelli's The Art of Thinking Clearly. Each episode shows you a hidden trap and how you can avoid them in your own investing. And if you haven't met yet, hi, I'm Wietse. I'm a business consultant and AI specialist, and on this channel I explore how psychology and economics shape our choices, so you can make smarter decisions. Now let's return to that moment on the glacier. If you are like most people, you chose option B. You'd feel worse about actively pushing someone than failing to make a call that could save them. This is what we call omission bias. We often believe that doing nothing is better than doing something risky, even if an action causes just as much harm. It's like saying, if I stay out of it, I'm not to blame. Looking at the climber situation rationally, both scenarios led to the exact same outcome. Someone died because of your choice. But psychologically, we experience less guilt when we simply don't act, compared to when we actively do something harmful. And this bias doesn't just apply to life and death thought experiments. We see it in everyday decisions. People skip vaccines to avoid rare side effects, even if the disease is riskier. Or they watch friends spiral, saying nothing, just to avoid tension. The omission bias shows up constantly in investing too. Imagine you own shares in a company that's underperforming for years. The logical move would be to sell and invest elsewhere. But many investors just can't pull the trigger. Why? Because selling feels like an active choice, one you might regret. Holding on, by contrast, feels passive. If you sell and the stock suddenly skyrockets, you'll kick yourself for making a mistake. But if you do nothing and the stock continues to drop, somehow that feels less like your fault. After all, you didn't do anything. That's the trap. Omission feels safer, even when it's costing you money. That's why so many investors sit passively on losing positions far longer than they should. The pain of actively making a mistake feels sharper than the pain of passively watching your money disappear. To fight this bias in your investing, remember, not selling is still a decision. Every day you hold a stock, you're essentially choosing to buy it again at its current price. So here's a simple test. Look at each stock you own and ask yourself, if I didn't already own this, would I buy it today? If the answer is no, then it's time to sell. One of the clearest examples of omission bias in market history happened during the 2008 financial crisis. In the months leading up to the crash, many fund managers saw warning signs in the housing market and concerning patterns in mortgage-backed securities. And yet, most did nothing. Later, many admitted they recognized the risks, but chose not to act. Why? Because if they had made dramatic changes and been wrong, they would have been personally responsible for the losses. But doing nothing? That felt safer. If the market crashed, they could say, no one could have seen it coming, and they would be just another victim of an unpredictable event. Meanwhile, a few investors like Michael Burry, famously portrayed in The Big Short, did take action. They were ridiculed, questioned, and even threatened. But they ignored the omission bias, made bold decisions, and saved their investors billions. Omission bias is one of the most expensive thinking errors for investors. Remember, not making a decision is still making a decision. The next time you're hesitating to sell a stock, ask yourself, would I buy this stock today if I didn't already own it? This simple question can help you see that your inaction is actually a choice, and maybe not the best one for a financial future. And with that, we've reached the end. If you find it interesting and want to see more videos like this, you might consider subscribing. Thanks for watching and see you next time.